Today's episode is brought to you by the Whole Life Decluttering Workshop, featuring a proprietary 6-step system, the Simple System, to help you declutter your life in a way that will last. Purchase this workshop on demand and receive the video training and dedicated workbook at positivelyproductive.com/resources. One of the first and most common mistakes when it comes to prioritizing is not even trying. You may have gotten into the habit of working by urgency, but remember, just because it feels like the norm doesn't mean it's meant to be your reality. The fact is, it needs to be part of your tasks in its own meta way, because prioritizing and constant reprioritizing are an essential part of being productive. You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zawrotny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a productivity coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. Join me as we explore ways to live a more proactive, positive life with episodes on productivity, self-awareness, mindset, entrepreneur life, habits and systems, simplicity, fun, and more. I understand overwhelm personally as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and as a caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome back to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and I have a fairly packed schedule and a life filled with projects and challenges. I'm an active and involved mom, a business owner who coaches and podcasts, and I'm a multi-passionate who seeks out new opportunities to create whenever possible. My day-to-day life is packed with home demands, such as managing the family schedule, to meal prepping and cooking, to haircuts and doctor's visits for the family and the pets, and so much more. Beyond running my own business, I also volunteer in my community and sit on 2 boards, as well as chair a program advisory committee. I also spend time with my husband and my eldest in a rock band project where I sing lead vocals. Yes, I do. And sometimes step in tentatively for some bass guitar support as needed. And for some bonus music fun, I'm trying to teach myself acoustic guitar, very slowly. And I'm obsessed with the fingerpicking style you find most prevalent in the 60s singer-songwriter era. I don't say all of this to impress you, nor to indicate or defend this perceived level of busy. As a matter of fact, I don't cherish the idea of being so busy and so overwhelmed. But I do admit that what I do is deeply connected to my own values, and I choose to juggle all that I do. I take ownership for it. I'm sharing all of this so that you can understand that I get it when someone says they're juggling a lot. I get it when someone says that the mental load of motherhood is dragging them down. I get it when someone says it's a struggle to keep up with everything. And I know personally what it feels like to spend a day putting out fires to the point of exhaustion, feeling like I never rested because I didn't, and then yet wondering what I have to show for it. That's why we talk about all of these things on the podcast and why I decided to bring back this particular topic in a re-release podcast. Dealing with the feeling of everything being urgent and struggling to prioritize and to handle it all is a primary reason clients choose to work with me. Before we continue, I want to emphasize that the first step in stopping the overwhelm is to assess what you have on your list in the first place, and if you're good with it. What you choose to do, whether through obligation or desire, can be too much for you in general or at certain times in your life, especially if you enter a new phase of life that brings on more demands. I see this especially so in my fellow caregivers who are creatives. So creativity already brings a lot to the table. And then when you step into caregiver mode, it changes the game. Today, we're going to talk about prioritizing what you have on your list with the idea of optimizing what you're truly choosing to do. If you'd like more support on creating boundaries and decluttering your life, reducing those things on your list, especially if you're a people pleaser, You may want to check out episode 53 on codependency, episode 116 on the most important boundary for people pleasers, episode 232 on how to prioritize personal time by setting boundaries, and episode 235 on when you must say no. And for more on self-care and decluttering in general, check out the podcast page of the positivelyproductive.com website. You'll find playlists on those topics and many more. Now let's listen to a portion of episode 115 on how to prioritize when everything feels urgent. I want you to think about it this way. You have a choice to make based on a variety of factors. Use what you know and make that choice confidently. Then protect it. Easier said than done, I know, but that's the crux of prioritizing. Have you ever heard the Jerry Seinfeld shtick on taking and holding a reservation? Yeah, that holding part is key. So let's talk about where things go off the rails when it comes to prioritizing. And keeping it real, you likely already know the answer, though it may be hard to admit. As we go through these scenarios, I want you to stay curious and keep the judgment out of it. We all do these. It's a matter of discovering why and moving past it that will change your prioritizing game. Here are 3 common scenarios I see in my clients. Scenario 1. You don't have a plan. Prioritizing? We don't need no stinking prioritizing. Let's go with the flow. The fires tell me my path. You can go ahead and insert a maniacal laugh right here. So I have to ask, how's that working out for you? One of the first and most common mistakes when it comes to prioritizing is not even trying. You may have gotten into the habit of working by urgency, but remember, just because it feels like the norm doesn't mean it's meant to be your reality. The fact is, it needs to be part of your tasks in its own meta way, because prioritizing and constant reprioritizing are an essential part of being productive. Scenario 2. You try, but it's overwhelming. You have too much to choose from, which means you have a list that is essentially mental clutter. And what does clutter do? We've talked about this in so many episodes. It creates distractions. It demands your attention because it's an attention hog and encourages you to go find something else to do that's much more fun. So, procrastination time. Too many things to prioritize is a numbers game gone wrong. It causes decision fatigue when you have to sort through so many options, and it only gets worse every time one more is added. Just as organizing is easier with fewer things, so too is prioritizing. You can focus and choose much easier when you have a few items to sort than when you are inundated. What can you remove from your list today? This is the first D, declutter, delete, in the 4D system in the Tackle Your To-Do List episode. Scenario 3, you leave it to someone else. We just discussed how overwhelming prioritizing can be, especially when you have so much to do. So why wouldn't you want to defer these choices if someone else is willing to take them on? I believe it runs deeper than that, actually. Not only does weariness and overwhelm play a role, so might your tendencies and mindset. In addition to allowing others to prioritize because it feels easier, you may also do so for these 2 reasons. 1, you're a people pleaser. You want to be liked, and plays well with others has ended up on report cards and annual evaluations for as long as you can remember. You're a team player and often an obliger. You want to help and you're happy to defer. Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with deferring in general. Please keep in mind there's a difference between being at peace because you know when to pick your battles and help others, and being a doormat such that you don't have a say in what's important to you. The second reason is you defer too much to others because you don't trust yourself. Ouch, right? Do you find yourself saying, what if I choose wrong? Well, you don't want to be the one to choose because this way you can't choose wrong, right? While that might feel logical and safe, it's fraught with inaccuracies. First of all, if it's your priority, how can you choose wrong? It might be perceived that way by someone else who wanted you to prioritize them or their tasks, but more often than not, it's simply a choice that you're making and you have to be okay with. Your choice will work in large part due to your confidence. If circumstances change, you can course correct and even pause and shift a task if necessary. Approaching it as your choice really helps. Scenario 4, you do prioritize. You lay out your options and place them in order fairly well, but you don't fight for your choices. Now, this could very well be scenario 3B because they're very connected. Not protecting your choice is a boundary issue. You know what you need to do and in what order, but you aren't protecting the space and the right to do it. So I need to have you ask yourself why. And does it go back to the issues of not trusting yourself or the desire to please? Is it a misplaced sense of urgency? That's the perfect segue into the idea of urgency and how we can make informed choices. If you've struggled to shake the feeling that everything's a priority, you've probably researched prioritization techniques. And there's a reason that I didn't bring them up first. I wanted to talk about the underlying issues first, but let's talk about them, one in particular, but there are many of them out there. You've probably heard of Scrum, ABCDE, 139. But my personal favorite is the Eisenhower Matrix. The Eisenhower Matrix is one you probably know even if you don't know the name. The matrix is also known as the Eisenhower method, the urgent important matrix. It's a quadrant-based method of looking at your time and effort strategically, based on combinations of urgency and importance. I like that it gets specific about the ideas of urgency and importance because, although it may feel like everything is urgent, when you start comparing things, you realize they are not equal. In this system, there are 4 combinations: urgent and important, not urgent and important, urgent and not important, and not urgent and not important. Let's quickly define these. Important is indicative of significant worth or consequence. Urgent is calling for immediate action. You can see right away, I bet, that there are things on your list that the world would have you view as urgent that do not, in fact, require immediate action. You may also see quickly what is of great worth and consequence too. Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, mentions this matrix in habit 3 specifically, which is prioritizing the important over urgent. His recommendations are as follows. Urgent and important. These are your highest priorities. They demand that you act quickly. Not urgent, but important. These are the tasks that have a much greater impact on helping you achieve your long-term goals. It's a sweet spot where you're proactive and making time for meaningful work. Urgent and not important. Well, these are the daily fires that suck your focus, energy, and time. And these, by the way, are the prime candidates for delegation or delay, especially when someone else has imposed that urgency on you. This is probably the place where you live the most, and it's the place we need to get you out of. Lastly, not urgent and not important. These tasks shouldn't even be on your to-do list. So let's get rid of them right now. And again, that is the first D of the 4 Ds in tackling your to-do list. So be sure to listen to that episode. You can walk yourself through this and declutter that to-do list right away. So any of these traditional prioritization techniques can work if you have figured out the root cause of your resistance to prioritizing and your preferred way to choose how to spend your time. It's not about the technique, it's about making a choice. When we don't make a choice, the choice is made for us. No matter the outcome, be sure to choose on your own terms. Thanks for listening to this episode. What's your main takeaway for today? Is there a prioritization technique mentioned that you'd like to try? Or has this helped you realize that you need fewer things to prioritize? Either way, you're in the right place for support on these topics. And if you're unsure which it is, or you feel like it's all of the things, then a coaching session is your best bet. It won't take long to get the clarity you need. We can do an initial assessment and decide your next steps in under an hour. You'll find details on the coaching page of the positivelyproductive.com website, and I welcome you to message me directly, and I'll happily send you a link to book a session with a very special listener discount. Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. If you have feedback or questions, you can find me through the Connect page of the positivelyproductive.com website. And if you're looking for any of the resources mentioned here, from books to products to training and more, go to positivelyproductive.com/resources.